Our special feature centres around referees. They've got a lot of laws to remember and a lot of laws to enforce. But 2/3 of football referees face regular abuse, a new survey finds. This is originally from 6th of December 2015. Nearly 2/3 of football referees in England say they experience verbal abuse on a regular basis, according to a new survey seen by the BBC. More than 2,000 referees, the majority at grassroots level, responded to questions about the abuse they receive and how well the Football Association's Respect programme is working. Nearly 1 in 5 said they had experienced physical abuse. There is no room for complacency and we remain vigilant, said the FA. It told the BBC. More extreme incidents such as referee assaults thankfully remain few and far between. Across an estimated 1.2 million games last season, the number of reported incidents amounted to a tiny fraction of 1%, which puts the scale of the problem into context. But Dr. Jamie Cleland from the University of Loughborough, one of the academics involved in the research, warned these findings are quite concerning for the FA because without referees, the grassroots game would not exist. Referees are at the bedrock of the amateur game because you need a referee to turn up in order for the match to go ahead, and so these are a warning sign for the FA. Now, there was a 5Live investigative program which was given exclusive access to the research, which was carried out by academics at Loughborough, Portsmouth and Edgehill universities. A total of 2,026 referees across England, the Isle of Man, Jersey and Guernsey responded to the survey. 32% are currently level 7 junior referees aged 16 or over. The second biggest response, 30%, was from those at level 5 senior county referees. The survey also included a small number of responses from referees within the football and Premier Leagues. The findings revealed that 22% experienced verbal abuse at every match, while 38% said they were abused every couple of games. In addition, 19% had been the physical abuse at some time. Donald Distin from Devon, who has been a referee for 15 years, was attacked by a player as he showed a red card during the game last year. He just punched me. My feet left the ground and I was on the floor, Mr. Distin told the programme. The bruising went all the way down through my chest and face. My eye was bloodshot. It was horrific. I couldn't see my grandson because he was so upset. The player was subsequently jailed over the attack. It is one of them ones. Mr. Diston told the programme he still experiences abuse at matches. He said he did a game the other day and there were 10 cautions and 2 sendings off. I sent someone off the field of play and he came towards me and said, "I'm going to kill you," as well as a load of expletives. During the 2014-15 season, there were 100 assaults on match officials and 374 incidents of improper conduct, including physical contact and threatening and or abusive language. Officials were also asked about the FA's Respect programme, which began 7 years ago to improve behaviour among players and spectators. More than half, 54%, said the campaign had been successful. Now keep that in mind because that's actually quite an important point right there. Comments included respect levels in general have been good, very good from my experience. The knowledge of the Respect campaign has been good at most clubs. Another said, I referee adult football and there has been a marked improvement in behaviour. There were fewer incidents of irrational behaviour. But nearly a third felt the campaign had been unsuccessful. What we've seen from within the data is a real outpouring of emotion from referees. They are saying the campaign has been somewhat successful, but they are then providing a diary-like analysis of experiences that they are receiving, if not at every match, every couple of matches, added Dr. Cleland. One official told the survey behaviour of players and coaches has not improved in the slightest, and all this shaking of hands pre-match is meaningless, totally meaningless. Another added, at the level I referee, I don't believe the Respect campaign has made much of a difference. The behaviour of players and spectators, shouting, swearing, etc., if anything, has gotten worse since I started refereeing. An FA spokesperson said that incidents of dissent are never pleasant, and the notion that they are in any way part and parcel of the game is one that the Respect programme was established to dispel. The spokesperson highlighted a 23% decline in dissent cautions over the past 7 seasons and added, with a significant drop in the occurrence of this type of caution over the life of the programme, it is clearly working. But they also conceded that one serious assault is one too many. The FA engages directly with referees for its own research and gave its support to the independent study, which, when drilled down, indicates that only 7% of referees feel that Respect isn't working out right. Now, on the 22nd of March 2016, referees, coaches, players and parents have called for an end to the endemic culture of referee abuse in grassroots football and has proposed initiatives for a new action plan to tackle the problem. It's actually from the Telegraph. The Telegraph has been inundated with shocking stories following its investigation into experiences of match officials, and drawing on recent research, the suggestions of participants at every level of football. 6 key ideas were repeatedly raised. They were: a signed code of conduct for parents. This would make it mandatory for all parents to agree certain standards of behaviour before their children can play. Renew the respect campaign and make it compulsory. Remove respect's optional status and explore how it could be improved and widened. Tougher penalties at the top level. Introduce a greater deterrent for disrespecting referees in the professional game, whether by players or managers. Greater weight for referees' account of an incident. Referees are frequently frustrated by the difficulty in proving threats or their experience of abuse. Overhaul grassroots discipline with zero tolerance of abuse. Speed up the disciplinary process and explore more immediate sanctions and powers for leagues. Automatic support and mentoring for referees. A more concerted and joined up approach is needed to guarantee support and advice for referees who experience a traumatic incident. Now, it is one of them ones. So those 6 themes were most regularly highlighted in the numerous interviews, and a new academic study, of course, showed systematic verbal abuse, and that 19% of referees have experienced physical abuse. Now, Keith Hackett, the former referees chief who helped launch the Respect campaign in 2008, described the proposals as an excellent menu of ideas that would stimulate progress. Graham Eakins, the official who warned that someone in Surrey Youth League could be killed if violence did not stop, said that the ideas largely mirrored his own plans. The FA stressed that the Respect campaign remained a priority, although the recent restructuring at Wembley has meant the dedicated position of Respect manager, previously held by Dermot Collins, no longer exists, and his work is now under the remit of Lawrence Jones, a former referee who is head of leagues and clubs. Kelly Simmons, the FA's participation and development director, wants to give the campaign fresh impetus. We will step back and have a look at the Respect campaign and see how we can kick on again with it, how we can refresh it and enhance it to make sure that we keep getting those messages across. Respect is mandatory in all clubs that have been awarded the FA Charter standard for how well they are run, but it is not present throughout amateur football, and the feedback from referees is that they want it implemented universally. Even in some clubs who have signed up to the Respect campaign, many of the core requirements, such as a pre-match handshake and barriers to keep spectators on the touchline, have lapsed and are not consistently enforced. So, bit more on this actually. Keith Hackett from March 23rd, 2016. Basically, former referees chief Keith Hackett has slammed the Football Association over their Respect campaign, which he believes has fizzled out. As part of a damning investigation published by the Telegraph, Hackett says the FA don't have a handle on the scale of the problem in the grassroots game, whilst the new survey reveals concerning levels of abuse towards referees. As we've mentioned, as just gone over already. But it is one of them ones. In November, officials in the Thames Valley Premier League went on strike in protest at a series of threats and abuse, including 1 assault and 2 abandoned matches, whilst in February, the chairman of the Surrey County Youth League warned parents that someone could be killed if aggressive touchline behaviour continued to spiral out of control. Now, it is one of them was Greg Dyke is due to step down in July, and the Telegraph have actually written to him in regards to this. But Keith Hackett, who receives regular reports of abuse to referees via his You Are The Ref media channel, told Dyke that he believed the Respect programs had fizzled out. He said, I've been in the game since 1960 and I have no doubt that this is getting worse. I think that I don't think the referee has got a handle. FA has got a handle on it. I think that refereeing within the football discussion is way down the pecking order. I think that is the same with the county FAs. There is a good amount of revenue that comes in from the fines they receive from discipline. So it is one of them ones where, again, it is one of them, was Dr. Jamie Cleland said, in terms of the Respect campaign, there have been some gains, but there is a sense that it has run out of steam and is not being consistently enforced. So, moving in terms of fast forward in a touch. 18th of May 2016, Jesus Tomilero, a gay Spanish referee, has actually quit due to abuse. From the 18th of May 2016, openly gay Spanish referee Jesus Tomilero says he has been hurt deeply by homophobic insults. Spain's first openly gay football referee says more will follow his lead by coming out, even though he quit after being verbally abused. Jesus Tomilero, who's 21, spoke to the BBC on the day of a parliamentary inquiry into homophobia in sport, heard from experts who criticised sporting bodies for a lack of action on the issue. The former referee similarly complained of a lack of support within the game. It's been humiliating, Tomilero told BBC World Service, but he added, I have broken the ice and more will come out now. For me, that will be an honour. They will have my full unconditional support. The more of us there are, the stronger we will be, and I'm telling them to come out, to be strong like me, to be brave, and for us to keep fighting for what we want. Now, at that time, there was the Culture, Media and Sport Committee hearing, and they were told that UK bodies had signed a charter for action in 2010, but little was been done since. Professor Ian Rivers from the University of Strathclyde, who carried out the first international study of homophobia in sport, was one of 3 experts to give evidence. There is an inactivity within the clubs and within the boardrooms that actually needs to be addressed. His study said 80% of almost 10,000 participants had witnessed or experienced homophobia in sport. And Dr. Jamie Cleland from Loughborough University, who was involved with the previous studies, has agreed that sports leaders have done little so far to send the message that gay and lesbian athletes would be welcomed if they came out, but he added most fans would support such sports people. Tomilero, who suggested there are gay referees officiating in La Liga, said he had received support from Spain's Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy and former Real Madrid goalkeeper Iker Casillas, as well as his fellow officials. But he said fans, football clubs and coaches and players had made deplorable remarks and homophobic slurs. So it is one of them. Was 14 months ago, Tomilero posted a picture of himself and his boyfriend on social media with the caption, "This is where my happiness starts." He said, "I have to be brave and say, here I am. I will be the first one who admits it. Who cares what they say to me?" The clubs would say things like, "Look, there is the fag referee." And apologies if that verbiage offended anyone. It was a direct quote from Jesus Tomilero. I wanted the Andalusian Football Federation to make a law against homophobia, games suspended or a high fine to be paid, because the last fine issued for insulting me with a homophobic slur was €150, £115. We shouldn't be insulted in every game, nor threatened and even attacked. This is what I find deplorable. I think that civilization is not up to date yet. So it is one of them ones where he said the fight for equality in football is complicated, and he said in football the problem is that people think it's a macho men's sport. He said, "I think this sport can be enjoyed by homosexuals, transsexuals, bisexuals, by anyone." So I want to ask the Skypers on this. And I've seen that Jamie Bailey has already had a view in the Skype chat. Couple of questions kind of come to mind here. Thoughts on the Respect campaign? Thoughts on the fact that 2/3 of football referees face regular abuse? And also, has the Respect campaign fizzled out? And also, Jesus Tomilero and the abuse that he had to suffer. It's one of them ones where him quitting over humiliating abuse. Thoughts on that? JBK, you want to have it?
Well, first of all, I think it goes back to something that happens, obviously, with the rules in terms of the Euros. You change the rules. If you change the rules, referees can abide by the rules. It's as simple as that. If they keep changing the rules and start amending them and doing this and doing that, referees are going to keep having the problem of, oh, I didn't see it, or I don't know I didn't really recognise what happened. And then all of a sudden they've got to read up on the rules again, and it's just like, okay, well, mistake is over, I'm going to have to correct it the next game. Whereas by then, the relationship between a football club and a referee could have been soured because of a decision that was changed based on the world governing body thinking that a rule needed to be amended. It didn't need to be amended. It just needed to be told directly of what's going to happen. Just like the offside rule. It doesn't need to be changed. Just keep it the way it is. If a person's offside, he's offside. If you don't think he's offside, leave it. Also, I had this pretty much all season as well at grassroots. I had a final which I was pretty much annoyed about with the ref, and it crushed my dreams as well with the ref. He sent one of my players off, and I thought, and he only done it because it looked like it was simulation, when really and truly my player was literally jumping out of the way of a horrid tackle. Now, if that's the way that has happened, things are happening. Sometimes refs don't give a good account of themselves. So I'm sitting on the fence with this one. As a coach, you can see a good ref when he does his job, and you can help him out and tell the refs, look, I'm going to tell my players, but I can't do nothing once they cross that line. If I do something once they cross that line, then you're going to tell me to go to the stands or go and leave the pitch side. That's one thing as a coach. As a supporter watching the games, the referees sometimes don't give a good account of themselves, but when you're at the professional level, you've got to keep your mouth shut as a player. You just have to keep your mouth shut, regardless of whether it's professional level or grassroots level. You just got to keep your mouth shut. You tell the players time and time again, every week, just don't talk back to the ref. Leave it to the captain. If he's got something to say, let the captain hear it. And if he calls you over, you go over. That's it. Don't say anything. Wait until he's finished. If you still have something to say, wait until after the game. Don't just do it at halftime or whenever. Just wait until after the game. But again, most players, when they have that fiery temperament, you know that they're going to go and say something to the ref. So regardless of whether you want to take it out of them or not, the only good thing that you can do is just go, you know what, don't say anything, or we're just going to leave you out of the team. And if you leave them out of the team and it weakens your team, then you're thinking, well, this is the problem. So you're pretty much as a coach or as a supporter, you're pretty much in two problems, in two minds. Do you leave a player out that's got a fiery temperament, or do you put him in knowing that he can win the game? And whether it's going to take it out of him or not, you know for a fact, if that fiery temperament gets you a win, you can't really take it out of the player. It's just pointless. My view on gay referees, yes, football is thought of a masculine sport, but whoever thought that women could be doing professional football? Yet they are. So at some point, it will change. But it's just a case of they can't ask for an overnight change. They can't ask for all of that straight away. I'm not saying that what they said and why he quit is a logistic is a sound reason, but for referees to say that homophobia is rife in the sport and they're getting it left, right, and centre, that's again you can't really say anything to a person if they're going to say it. The only thing you can do is stop them from playing football for a week, and then all of a sudden you've got that logistics of, do I need another player? And if you can't field that team again, then you know that it's going to be a problem. So
but then if your players are mouthing off against referees, you get fined for failure to control fans, and it's one of them ones. It's bringing the game into disrepute. So if your player decides to mouth off to the referee and spout homophobic abuse at the referee, then hell, if you get punished with it, you brought that upon yourself. So hell, I see it as life sucks and then you die. You shouldn't have said it. If you don't do the crime if you can't take the time.
No, of course. I'm not saying that he shouldn't. The person will say it, but again, what are you going to do when he said it? All of a sudden, you're going to have to go, oh, I'm sorry, ref, blah blah blah. And again, that's it. You can't really take it out of the player if he's got a fiery temperament. Number one. Number two, if he does say it and you take him out the team, you've seen it yourself, Liam. If a team turns up with 9 or 10 players, and the reason why is because one of their players last week said something to the ref and they couldn't play for X amount of games, then yeah, that is a form of punishment towards the team. But it's also it doesn't look good for the league either, because it now says, oh well, you've got teams filled in 10 players because of one stupid decision. That it's not it's not the ref's stupid decision, it's the player's stupid decision. But it now becomes a reflection of not only the league, it also becomes a reflection of the club. What you do with the club, how do you work around? How do you work with the club as well? You can do that with I'm working in a Liam, you know Stonebridge quite well. You know exactly what type of people what we're going to get in Stonebridge as well as Wembley.
Yeah.
And whether you can control what they say, they're still going to say it. So when I say to one of the players, when I say to all of the players, look, say nothing to the ref, leave it to the captain, and then they still mouth off. What, am I meant to stop them from doing something? All of a sudden, I've only got 9 players to start the game next week because 2 of my players have either been sent off or have said something to get me get the club into trouble. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this team? How do I function with this team? Yeah, you can take it out of them, but you're never fully going to take out an opinion.
No, but the thing is though, I've got to be a little careful in terms of how much I reveal here, but we had a problem last season with the Ibis Eagles with someone literally physically assaulting a referee, and like literally we were all not only appalled by it, but we were horrified when we'd heard it. When we got the account, and it's safe to say that guy will never play for the club again, and he got handed an extremely hefty ban, as well as fines as well. And it's one of them ones where it's like I think the powers that be, especially in the professional game, because you look at how referees are treated. The professional game is where most people are taking their example from, especially at grassroots level, especially when you've got youngsters as well. Now you look at the powers that be. Let's just nail it down to the FA. When you're looking at the powers that be, always basically, to an extent, belittling referees and having these respect campaigns where things aren't properly enforced. It's just like Gary Monk. It's like Gary Monk at Leeds United being told that he's got great potential to improve, and we want him for the long term, but he's only being given a 1-year rolling deal. You're sending counterintuitive messages, is my point. The fact of the matter is, like, this whole thing with the respect campaign, I've always said the respect campaign is BS anyway. Personally, I've said that for a number of years, and there's PT shows to that effect. But I just think the whole thing has very much been a gimmick just to say, right, yeah, look, we are helping referees, we're doing something. But at the end of the day, a lot of times the referees get undermined by the powers that be, whether it be a lack of support, whether it be letting managers say, oh, this, that, the referee cost us the game and all this. And it's one of them ones. I mean, it's a case of, I think referees potentially are being failed in a number of areas in terms of training, because if you're fast tracking referees into situations that they're potentially not ready for or not trained for, then you're basically throwing them under the bus, which is a failure, which is a systemic failure. So that's part of my opinion on that. Yeah, referees get stuff wrong. We all get stuff wrong. But there's no need for homophobic abuse. There's no need for physical abuse. There's no need to verbally abuse the referee. There's no need to be like, there's no need to be, oh, if the referee gives you a wrong decision, say, oh, you effing see you next Tuesday. There's no need to do that. I understand heat of the moment and all that, but there is no need for it. There's a lot of stuff that happens on the football pitch that there is just no need for. That there really isn't. I mean, the amount of times when I was captain in the Ibis Fours, where a lot of referees do come to you and say, and even last season, because I'm the referee secretary at the Ibis Eagles as well, it's a case of a lot of people were like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, a lot of referees come up to me and are like, you know what, this is how I run things, this is how I do it, this is how I do this. And it's one of them, as a lot of referees will explain themselves pre-match and be like, I'll let the game run, but I won't accept any back chat. First sign of back chat, I'll call you as the captain over, or whoever's the captain. I'll call the captain over, and I'll tell you to calm down your player. After that, then it's one of them, was anything that happens after that, then we're taking on a case-by-case basis. But it is one of them was where Pitch Talk meets Darrell David that we kicked off the year with. He said a lot of very, very interesting things in terms of how he officiates a game. And he's like, I bring both captains over. I have a chat to them. I have a chat with my officials because I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. Because at the end of the day, everybody is there to play football. That's the important thing. Everybody's there to play football, and everyone's there, and everyone's there to enjoy it. So it's one of them ones. The referees should enjoy the game too. And I mean, referees and goalkeepers are very difficult positions to fill because they're seen as the positions that nobody really wants to do to an extent. So it's one of them ones where it's like it's one of them ones where, yeah, I mean, even something as simple as not shaking a referee's hand at the end of a match. I've had refs that I've not been happy with at all, but I've still gone up and shook the referee's hand because it is respect. Whether he's a referee, whether he's gotten decisions right, wrong, you should still show respect to that person because that's a person. Not a robot, not some sort of machine, it's a person. And people can make mistakes. People will make mistakes, and people do make mistakes. But I mean, I personally think, yeah, the FA's respect campaign has fizzled out. I very much think it has. Because at the end of the day, I mean, the fact that 2/3 of referees are facing regular abuse, that means that the campaign ain't working. That means that your sanctions need to be more draconian. Because they ain't working. And the fact that Spain's first openly gay referee had to quit because of homophobic abuse, that's a disgrace. Any way you slice it, that is a disgrace. It's one of them, football is inclusive, not exclusive. It's for everyone. It's for everyone and anyone. So the fact that someone's had to quit because they've been abused, it's not on. It really is not on. But at the end of the day, I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of them ones where I can see what Jamie's saying. As a coach, you can say everything to your players, but their moment of madness is something that that will be their downfall. Yeah, it falls on the club because we allow the player to play for us. It's like Rooney in his early years when people said he needs to curb his enthusiasm. They won't get the same Wayne. Yeah, that's fair dues, but you can't excuse if you're bringing the game into disrepute, if you're being abusive as well. That can't. I don't care how good you are. That can't be accepted. We had a situation like that at the Ibis Eagles where someone physically assaulted a referee, and we're like, nah, you know what? We ain't going to appeal this because at the end of the day, that's disgraceful. We do not encourage or even advocate that behavior at all in the slightest. Because I don't give a damn how good you are. You physically abuse a referee, you ain't playing for my team again. And that is cut and dry. You could be Lionel Messi for all I care, but you do that, you ain't playing for me again. Because you can't take that risk of it happening again. Because if it happens once, it's bad enough. If it happens twice, oh my word. And then if it happens a third time, you might not even get that many chances before your team or your club gets thrown out of leagues for it. So it's that's the bigger picture of it. In my opinion. I mean, it's one of them ones. It's not on that referees who are just doing a job, and especially at grassroots level where a lot of games you don't have linesmen to assist you with decisions. It's one of them ones like nobody like I've said before, nobody should be subject to physical or verbal abuse in the workplace, let alone in life generally, especially not in the workplace. You've come to do a job, and especially at grassroots level where you ain't getting paid much, or you ain't getting paid at all. Verbal and physical abuse is not on. It is not on. And Jamie Bailey, that's an interesting situation where what's it? You banned a player who was 13 years old for racism, then you were overruled by the chairman and told he has to play. Why was that overruled? I would like to know what reason you were given.
I don't believe I was given a reason. Basically, we played a team from an Asian community where I'm now live not too far from Harlington. You probably know it as well.
Yeah, up by Hayes sides. Yeah, Hayes, Uxbridge, that kind of sides. Yeah.
But they were playing us away at the time. So we were playing them. You might remember the team, North Kensington.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had a young team at the time, and obviously this is going back a few years. So this was, I think, 2011 or 2012, and I was told by the manager of the other team that one of his players were crying because he was left in tears because he was racially abused by one of my players. And I said, in front of everyone, including parents and everyone, I said, you can't play. You can't play for the next 2 or 3. I think I said it's either that you can't play for the next 2 or 3 games, or you're banned from the team for a certain period of time. And then it got back to the chairman, and so all of a sudden it was just like, okay, well, he's not going to be banned because we want him to play. I was like, wow. And from then on, it was just for the rest of the time, I was pretty much undermined for all the rules, and I just sort of stopped coaching properly by that time. So there was the point of time where you kind of do it, and you think you want to ban a player, but again, you can't let him keep. The only thing I could have said at the time was that it would have been nice if there was the sort of the what's the word? Not the ban and the classes. So classes on behaviour.
Like sensitivity training, that kind of thing.
Yeah, something like classes on behaviour and behaviour in games, as well as stuff for just not just for the parents on the sidelines, but also for the kids in games as well. Because obviously they're going to imitate what they see on the TV. That was it. I was told that he's basically imitating life out from the streets because he came from the area that we all know, Grove. So I thought, wow, if you're letting him play, then this team's definitely not going anywhere. And
well, I got a question for you then, because I mentioned it earlier, but it's one of them ones. Do you think the professional game needs to show a better example in terms of treatment of referees?
They definitely need to help the grassroots referees.
But do they need to show a better example though? Because you get a lot of these Premier League players going up to referees and being very aggressive in the way they challenge referees. You got managers like literally burying referees, and these little tiny fines being given out every now and then, and certain managers seem to be above those fines. Do you think the professional game needs to show a better example in terms of treatment of referees?
Of course it does, by a massive amount. And the problem, I think the problem is when, I'm not trying to be racist myself, but when all the foreign managers and Spanish style came into England, things just changed massively. So when you saw Chelsea buying a whole bunch of players in 2003, you saw that all of their styles started to come in, and it was a case of, oh, he's going to go. Remember, probably everybody remembers Drogba.
Oh yeah, his first season, he looked like he had the legs of a baby giraffe every game.
Yeah, and that was the problem. As soon as he went down, everybody surrounded the players. And if you remember PSG's game against Chelsea, a year ago, and they got Ibrahimovic sent off. Literally, the Chelsea players got Ibrahimovic sent off, not the ref, because I think he went for the yellow card, changed his mind, went for the red, and Ibrahimovic just walked off.
Yeah,
but yet
even though that rule actually got changed, where you're not actually allowed to do that anymore.
But that's the problem. They still done it, and I think that rule was changed just before that game as well.
Yeah. That comes into the powers that be. I mean, we just put out a question on social networks: do referees get enough support from the powers that be in football? And at the end of the day, I would say a resounding no. I mean, I'm guessing you will as well then.
Yeah, my theory is with these little with these problems of putting it all on media of what you can do to referees and blah blah blah. I'm looking at most of the games. You look at I look at FIFA nowadays. I look at FIFA and nobody's really challenging the ref in FIFA. But you look at Call of Duty, one of the most successful games in the last 10 years, and everybody's shooting up each other and blah blah blah, and this creating that sort of mind of if I can't win, I'm going to do whatever I can to kind of win, blah blah blah. That makes sense. I'm going to do whatever I can. If I have to get to the referee, I'm going to get to the referee, and things like that. And I'm like, you can't imitate life for a game. Number one. Number two, if you're going to help a referee ref a game, you need to the referee for me has to be somebody who's of the highest of qualities. You can't be sending a referee who made a mistake one week back down to League 2 the next week. That doesn't make sense. It's just pointless. He made a mistake in the I think it was.
Well, it happens a lot on a regular basis where you get bumped down a couple leagues if you make a mistake. But it's like, I mean, it's one of them was just to kind of put a finer point on it, just because of time. It is a case of, I mean, the gaming analogy. I don't know. I mean, I did my dissertation in part on that. At uni in terms of computer games and that, but it's one of them ones where no, I get what you say. I definitely get what you're saying. I mean, it is one of them ones where it's a case of I think the powers that be definitely do need to support referees more, but also the professional game needs to be basically forced into, and players at professional level need to be, because. And as much as I hate to say it, footballers are role models. I don't think they should be, but they are. So you've got a lot of kids, obviously you, Jamie, coaching youngsters. It's one of them was you'll see that if something big happens on the weekend, like someone does an overhead kick or Rooney starts swearing at a referee or someone else big in the game starts swearing at referees, the kids are going to go and do it. They're going to go and copy it. I don't want to use the phrase monkey see, monkey do, but it's kind of apropos. I mean, it's one of them ones. I definitely would say the professional game not only needs to support referees more, but also the professional game needs to show a better example of how to treat referees. Just needs to be done. Anyway.